Good evening and welcome. I'm Chris Parnell.
Reporting from Moscow.
Tbilisi.
Times Square.
May your dreams be your only boundaries in life.
Welcome to Mentors. My name is Tracy Speak and I'll be your host. Webster defines mentors as wise, loyal advisors. This program, Mentors, seeks to serve as a forum for seniors to share their wisdom with Memphis and the surrounding locale. We hope to address the life issues that seniors face. Mentors are wonderful people that make significant contributions to the quality of life in the Memphis area. The Orpheum Center for Performing Arts and Education has broken ground. This two-story building of over 39,000 square feet will supplement existing educational activities with classrooms, rehearsal hall, state-of-the-art technology, and a 365-seat theater. Pat Halloran, the president CEO of Memphis Development Foundation, the nonprofit parent of the Orpheum, and the chairman, Karen Fields Isaacman, are heading up the drive for the center. Pat's here to tell us all about this great addition. Welcome, Pat.
Thank you, Tracy. Always good to be back here.
Man, y'all are doing so many great things. Tell us what all this hole in the floor is doing down there.
Well, we're excited. We've had an educational program for kids from preschool all the way through college, and everything from programs from the Kennedy Center that go on tour for real young kids, and then through elementary school. And then in high school, we have all of these master classes and opportunities for them. We have a Broadway boot camp in the summertime. Just a number of fabulous experiences for young people. And we really ran out of room. I mean, the Orpheum was built in 1928, and when they built it, they were thinking about movies, and they weren't thinking about anything that had anything to do with education. So anyway, here we are 85 years later, and we're finally building a facility after 15 years of growth in the area of our 19 education programs. We decided to build this building, and we bought the lot that's immediately to the south of the theater, and we are building a $15 million education building, which is going to be absolutely gorgeous. But the beauty of the building is not going to be overshadowed by the beauty of what happens inside the building. Last year we had 60,000 kids come through our program.
That's hard to believe.
And so we're going to see that number grow. And we're going to have more programs, because when we used all of the Orpheum available time for these classes, we were somewhat limited by the fact that the Orpheum's very busy in what it does in presenting Broadway and concerts and all of those things. We just didn't have enough time. So we had to turn kids away. And that upset me, and so I went to the board, and they've been very supportive. So this building will be done in 12 months from right now.
Wow.
And you're going to see almost a 40,000 square foot building with, like you pointed out, state-of-the-art theater with 360 seats, and a rehearsal hall that'll be the same size as the Orpheum stage. So if a show wants to come in to Memphis and prepare to go on stage at the Orpheum, they can rehearse in the new building and not disrupt the schedule at the Orpheum. And we're going to have a lot of assembly rooms for receptions, and we're going to do an education outreach for senior citizens. We're going to have a program for nonprofit staff members. We're going to have a health education program. So it's going to reach the entire community, not just these young people. Now, primarily that was our goal, and it will be our goal. but we also have this huge space. And so we're extending the programming to reach, as I said, senior citizens. We're going to have yoga classes and movies that are going to be documentaries that people don't see a lot of the great documentaries that are really produced because they're not promoted locally, but we're going to have a documentary series. I'm so excited about what's going to happen that, you know, a year from now we'll be cutting the ribbon and we'll start the influx of probably 80,000 kids a year.
This has got to be a terribly expensive undertaking other than just the building. What kind of budget are we talking about?
Well, the building's going to cost right under $15 million, and the annual operation, which we're really looking at now, is going to be well over $1 million a year.
Wow.
So, but we've been spending about $800,000 a year on the programs now in a limited fashion. So I think that when people see how exciting this building is going to be, I think the support will be forthcoming, because we're going to be helping kids that maybe they're a little bit unsure of themselves. They're not as confident as they'd like to be. Maybe they're really struggling with what they ought to do when they graduate from high school. We're going to bring in people that are going to help them not make that decision, but help them develop the process to make that decision. And that's the secret to growth and development in people in high school and getting ready for the big experiences that they're going to run into when they get out of their home for the first time, if they go away to school or if they just move into an apartment or whatever. It's a whole new world, and it's not like being in the cocoon of the family. So we want to help them prepare.
Well, how can the average citizen contribute to that process?
Well, I would be happy to talk to anybody that wants to call, but no, we're going to have. It's not a campaign for the $15 million. Is not just a campaign for the big companies and individual wealthy people. You know, we've got people donating $25, $50, $100. If you donate $1,000 and you can spread it out over time, we're going to put your name in a brick that leads into this beautiful building. And so we want everybody to feel like they had a part in this building. It's really going to be a community effort, and we're not using any public money. We're not using any tax money. All of this money is coming from either the Orpheum's operation or the fundraising arm.
And this, I'm assuming, is a nonprofit.
Yeah, well, the Orpheum, the Memphis Development Foundation, which I head, is a nonprofit, and we operate the Orpheum for the city of Memphis. The city of Memphis actually owns the Orpheum. We used to own it. We sold it to them for $1 so that we could get their help when we were initially renovating it. And now we have a standalone operation. The city has not put one penny into the Orpheum since day one. So we've been able to secure and maintain the building and bring in what I think is fabulous entertainment at no cost to the taxpayer.
So how in the world are you going to have just the staff to run such a thing?
Well, we've got it's kind of interesting. I started what I call the Celebrity Advisory Board. And these are people that I know personally, that I have asked if they would, when they're available, come in and teach the kids a master class or come down and just talk to them. Justin Timberlake was the first one to sign up. We have two fabulous international opera singers, because we found during the High School Musical Theater Awards that we've done for a long time that there are some young people that really want to go study opera. And we've got two international opera stars that live in Memphis that are signed on. I've got Molly Smith, who produced movies for, she did P.S. I Love You, and she's from Memphis. There's just so many people that want to be a part of this, and these are well-known people. I got two of the Barquets that are going to come in and talk about group rock and roll and soul music. David Porter, who's a multi-Grammy Award winner. I can't tell you, I've got a choreographer from Memphis that's now in New York, who I know very well. I see her when I go up to New York, and she's going to come back and teach classes. Right now, she's teaching 2 Broadway shows choreography. So I mean, it's going to be exciting. So not only will the staff be involved, and there'll be a great staff involved in the day-to-day operation, but I've got this wealth of experience and great celebrity status that are going to add a lot of credibility to the program.
Well, there are folks that have actually done it.
That's
They're
right.
not just
That's where they are.
The
That's
book
right.
learners, but they are also
Yeah.
folks that have shown that indeed they can do it.
And they all love Memphis, and they all love the Orpheum Theater. Every one of them said, "Pat, I'd do it in a minute. Just tell me what I need to do." And I said, "Well, Justin Timberlake, when you're in Memphis, you come on down and talk to these young people." So it's going to be exciting.
And so with that, the youngsters can really study with people that
Well,
can
they
help.
look up to, and we're working with a couple of the Grizzlies to talk about motivating kids that aren't interested in the performing arts, but they want to learn how to be good citizens and how do you pay back to the community once you get to where you think you ought to be. That's all part of the maturity process that we're going to be embedding in these young people.
So what you're doing is you're bringing a whole cornucopia.
Yeah, I
of
mean, we're
things.
looking at all corners, you know, of the world. Debbie Fields Rose is somebody we're trying to contact right now. She just came back to the city from vacation, and you know, she started Mrs. Fields Cookies.
Yes.
And but she's also a TV celebrity. She was on a syndicated show here last spring, and I know Debbie, and I know her husband, and I know she'll say yes. There'll be a lot of women out there that want to know, how did you start a business on your own that became so big that a big corporation came in and bought you out, and then you're on Easy Street for a while. Yeah.
So what you're talking about is a true educational
That's the word.
experience for the entire Memphis area.
That's the word. Education, outreach, that's right.
And you're hoping to reach 100,000 people?
Yeah, we'll have 100,000 people come through the program in 2018.
And undoubtedly, you work hand in hand with the schools.
Oh yeah, I mean we bust these young people in, and the high school kids drive down to participate in the competitions and the master classes, and some of them come, and little preschool people pile out of that bus, and they walk in the Orpheum, and they see those chandeliers, and then they go in and sit down, and they see something live on stage that they've been watching on TV, and it's like an epiphany. I mean, you know, they watch TV and they watch all these, you know, shows that are animated, but now you're seeing real people do the same thing on a big stage with music, and it's an experience that I look at those young kids' eyes, and it just brings tears to my eyes. I mean, they're just sitting there in awe, and you know that it's made an impact on them. And the neat thing about it is, we don't cater to a certain element of this system. These kids come from different schools, different religions, different races, different neighborhoods, and they all come together. And when you see them come together and learn and work together, they become friends. And I think that's going to have a huge impact on Memphis when this generation becomes our generation.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
that's the kind of thing that we want to take place.
That's right.
Because not only are they learning something, but they're learning even more, which is to be a good citizen to
That's
each
right.
other.
That's right.
That's great. All right, when we come back, we're going to find out all about the Broadway season for the coming
Looking forward to it.
for the coming point. And
All right.
it's going to be great.
It is.
You can now watch your favorite Germantown community television shows from anywhere in the world. GHS-TV is streaming online, live 24/7. A viewing screen displays our channel just like you see on television. Simply visit our website at www.ghstv.org. So log on and enjoy hometown news from anywhere in the world, only at ghstv.org.
Every day is so wonderful and so suddenly it's hard to breathe.
Would it be okay if I sat here?
Is she serious? Whatever.
New girl.
Sink away. Yes, words can't bring me down.
Reaching out. Pass it on.
So don't you bring me
A message from the Foundation for a Better Life.
Welcome back. Pat Halloran also carries the title of the President and CEO of the Orpheum Theater and has the responsibility for its operation. And he's going to tell us about the Broadway season that's coming at the Orpheum. So kick it off for us, Pat.
Well, Tracy, it's an interesting season. We've got 6 shows, and we're going to add one that's going to come in next summer that we haven't announced yet. But I'll tell your audience, we're bringing Mamma Mia back just for a summer weekend.
Good.
Well, everybody, it's got a cult following, and so we'll add that. But the 6 shows in the series starts off with one of the biggest shows we've ever done, and that's Phantom of the Opera.
Ooh.
And that starts the last week in September, this month, and it runs through the first week in October. After that, and everybody knows how famous Phantom of the Opera is. It was the longest running show on Broadway. It's still up there every night. The second show is Once, which is a beautiful show. It won the Tony Award in 2012 for being the best musical, and it takes place in an Irish pub, and the music is just so beautiful. It's played on the popular stations here. Well, one of the songs is played constantly on a couple of the local stations. But it's a story about people that living in this Irish community, and particularly the guy that writes the music and sings the songs, and who another person who becomes his girlfriend. But it's a love story, but it's a neat production and a beautiful show. And then after that, we've got A Christmas Story, which we're bringing in for the holidays. We thought we'd start it off with Thanksgiving week. We'll bring in A Christmas Story for 1 week. And then after the holidays, we're going to be bringing the show that up to this point has been the biggest show in the history of the Orpheum, and that's The Lion King.
Oh.
And it'll be here for 4 weeks. So it'll have an opportunity to sell 80,000 tickets. We have almost 20,000 seats in a week at the Orpheum. And when you do 4 weeks, that's 80,000 people. That would fill most of the biggest stadiums in the country. It would fill the FedEx Forum 5 times. But we know that we'll get 75 to 80,000 people to see that show. And then after that, we've got the Tony Award winner for 2013, which was Kinky Boots. Story about an English town outside of London that has fallen on bad times. They made shoes, but the influx of manufactured shoes in Asia at a much lower cost has run this company out of business. The owner and the father of the family involved, he passed away, so his son goes, and he lives in London, and he's kind of a suave and debonair guy, and he doesn't want to run a shoe factory. But the people in this little town are so dependent on this factory because they all work there that they plead with him and beg him to take on reviving. So they don't know what to do. Shoes are not going to be the answer because they're being undersold or under less costly manufactured. So they decide to come up with kinky boots, and these are the exotic boots that people wear on rather, shall I say, risque shows in and around the London community. Well, they're just dancing girls and what have you, but they wear these boots, and that's why they're called kinky boots. So it's kind of a fun show. After that, we've got a show that I love that I've seen in New York a number of times. I've seen it 3 times. and it's called Motown. It's the story of Berry Gordy, who started the Motown label back in the 60s. He's the guy who discovered Michael Jackson and the Jackson 5. He discovered all of these groups, the Supremes, all of those groups that came out of Detroit. And it's the story of his career, but the people that play, the people that they represent, the Supremes and all of the other people, Stevie Wonder and Michael Jackson and all of the other people that came out of Motown. The music is so reminiscent of what you remember, and it sounds pretty much like the way it sounded when it was recorded. So it's an exciting season, and we're pretty confident that people are going to gravitate towards it again. We've been very fortunate to have the support of the community. They appreciate the fact that we get all these shows that are still on Broadway. They don't have to go to New York or some other big city. They can come to the Orpheum and see 4 of our 6 shows are still on Broadway. And so they'll be major attractions for our next season.
Well, from a grandparent's point of view, The Lion King has got to be a must for the grandbabies.
Oh yeah, I mean it's a show that, first of all, it's such an extravagant production. It comes in, you got to imagine how big this show is. When they move from city to city, we know what an 18-wheeler looks like, big truck with 18 wheels. Well, they need 16 of those to bring the show from one city to the other, 16 18-wheelers. And it takes them 3 days to set up. They bring this chandelier, I'm thinking of the wrong song. When we do Phantom, they bring a chandelier in a truck all by itself. So the transportation of these Broadway shows is enormous, but Lion King is the biggest. And it takes all of those because of all the costumes, all of the special effects, and it's just a huge show.
Well, you probably couldn't have done it unless you'd expanded the theater.
But we had
as you
to,
did.
yeah. When I saw Phantom in New York in the early 80s, and I came back to Memphis, and I thought, oh my gosh, we're not going to be able to put on that show. And then Miss Saigon came out, and it was a big show. You had a helicopter coming at you. And I told the board, I said, we renovated the theater, and it's beautiful, but we're still not going to be able to get the big shows. We're going to have to knock out the back wall and add double the size of the stage and add all new dressing rooms, make a bigger orchestra pit. And my board said, you got to be kidding. But we did it. We did it for about $9 million, and we did Phantom and Miss Saigon and Sunset Boulevard and Lion King, Phantom. We've done them all. There is not a show that we can't do on the Orpheum stage now.
Which leads to the question that I'd like for you to explore for our audience is that they may have seen one or more of these shows on Broadway or here in a previous production. Why should they go again?
Well, that's always a good question because, like, we bring Lion King back, and this will be the 3rd time that we've done it. People have the opportunity to not take it if they took it the first time. They have an option. So we don't cram it down their throat. We give them an option. But more than that, I guess I've been in the business too long because I can see shows over and over. Like some people listen to their favorite CD in their car. You don't play it once and throw it out the window and say, I'm never going to listen to that again. Broadway's a little bit like that. It's a little more expensive than the CD,
Yes.
but it's the same experience. And we don't bring them back too soon. I mean, we're like, Lion King hasn't been here for 7 years. Well,
That's hard to believe.
People will think, I saw it, but I want to see it again, and I'm going to take the kids this time, or maybe I've got a new wife. I'll take my new wife. You never know, but that's what happens. We don't have any doubt we'll sell 80,000 tickets to the show.
I don't think so either, and it's good to think about. It's been 7 years, and all of a sudden I realize my 2 grandbabies have probably not seen it.
Yeah, probably not.
They fall within that age group.
Yeah.
Well, that's awfully good news. So What else should we look for this season that's kind of unique in the buying of the tickets or anything else?
Right. Well, we're trying. I will say this, that our prices are lower than any other major city in this part of the country. We start prices at $20 and $25, and they obviously go up to help us pay for the show because these shows are very expensive. A typical week of a Broadway show costs $600,000 before we make a nickel. So we have to pay for the show, we have to pay for the advertising, we have to pay for the stagehands and the hairdressers and the wardrobe and security and the house staff. It takes $600,000 to break even. So ticketing is always, I think, on a practical scale, and that's what we've tried to do. But, you know, we're going to be doing some fabulous concerts this year as well. I mean, we've got a big, long schedule, and Celtic Women's coming back, and we've got comedians, and we've just got a lot of great shows.
So you have a lot of marvelous things
Yeah, we
that
do.
are coming.
We
And
do.
thank you so much for all this information today.
Well,
You
thanks
have-
for the invitation.
you
I always
have-
like being here.
Oh, it's always fun. And come again.
I'll do it.
And thank you for being with us today for the Mentors program. Mentors is a long-standing GHS TV program, and we're thrilled to be expanding to Channel 19 in the Memphis area. If you're interested in the air dates of Mentors or any other shows on GHS TV, go to Channel 19 or visit ghstv.org, where we're also streaming live 24 hours a day. Also, you can keep up with GHS TV by visiting us on Facebook and Twitter. I was struck by these words of a French economist in the first half of the 1800s, Frederick Batiste, and how it applies to us today. Government is the great fiction through which everybody endeavors to live at the expense of everybody else. May we never lessen our efforts to have government be the will of the people rather than we become their servants. See you in October.